Hey everyone, all the viewers watching. This is Thrive with Sahil, and I'm your host. And today we have with us Nicholas Scarvelis, a very good friend of mine and an Olympian. He is originally from the US, but he has represented Greece. And I'll let Nicholas introduce himself more.
All right. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to share a little bit about myself and my background with your viewers and with you, and we'll get right into it. Um, but look, you made an important distinction right from the start that I am from the United States, but ended up competing internationally representing the Greek Olympic team. And so usually that requires a bit of explanation, and I will give it. So I'm from California, and I grew up competing in a lot of different sports. But all of my extended family was originally from Greece. All of my great grandparents were from Greece. Everybody married Greeks. And even though I didn't grow up speaking any Greek myself, Greek culture was a big part of our upbringing. We were very involved with the Greek Orthodox Church. We, observed, holidays and religious festivals and all that kind of stuff.
Mm,
And so growing up, I don't think I ever had a specific ambition uh, to go back and make Greece so much a part of my life as it has been.
mm,
Greece, the current modern day country, but
mm,
it's certainly become a huge part of my life and identity now. And basically, in terms of my athletic journey, I competed in, like I said, a lot of sports, but um, really found my niche in track and field and in throwing sports.
mm,
My older brother was a track athlete from when he was in fourth or fifth grade. He started running, and even though I wasn't very fast, I always wanted to do what he was doing. And so I
mm,
followed him into track and field, found out I wasn't so quick, but I saw that there were all these other kinds of events in track, such as throwing heavy objects. And because I was a big,
mm,
strong kid, I picked it up a little bit more naturally. And that love for the sport sort of grew from that young age.
mm,
So I started throwing maybe when I was 10 years old was the first time I ever threw shot put. Started getting some coaching when I was maybe 12 or 13, and
mm,
then started taking it a little bit more seriously when I was getting into high school. And I pushed through high school training. I was fortunate enough to become a state champion level high school thrower,
mm.
and a nationally ranked high school thrower. And but really, what mattered most was that I was able to progress and earn a scholarship to a college in the United States
Yeah.
for throwing. And in the NCAA system, in the university system in the U.S., there are some amazing programs, coaches, athletic departments that
Mm,
really support the Olympic sports. And I was fortunate enough, like I said, to benefit from going to a great school. I went to UCLA, where I was given great coaching. I was able to develop both my technical skills, but also really be in a top tier strength and conditioning department, work with really great physiotherapists and athletic trainers, as well as sports medicine generally. So it was really my first experience with a comprehensive approach to performance, and
mm,
I benefited a lot from that. And by the time I graduated from school, I had qualified for the Rio Olympics in the shot put. I had reached the international standard. Um, but I was representing Greece, and how that ended up coming about was in the middle of college. I
mm,
actually got a Facebook message from
mm,
a Greek coach,
mm,
who had seen my marks
mm,
and had recognized my last name as a Greek last name,
mm,
and had just decided on a whim, I'm going to send this guy Scarvelis a message. And I got a message in Greek saying, "Good morning. Do you read Greek?" and I didn't read it or I didn't understand it.
Mm,
So I texted back in English, after having Google translated it. I said,
mm,
no, I don't really read Greek. I don't speak Greek, but good morning to you.
yeah.
And what followed was this really funny interchange where he basically said, "Do you want to compete for the national team of Greece?"
Mm,
And it was something I never really thought about or considered at that time. I didn't think I could get Greek citizenship, being third generation. I didn't think that this was something that could materialize. I didn't think I would be competing as an athlete after college because the standard to represent the United States team at the Olympics is
yeah.
extremely, extremely rigorous. And so I planned on finishing up being an athlete after school and moving on into a different sector. But once I had gotten in touch with this Greek coach, and that was pursued a little bit more.
Mm,
I ended up eventually flying to Greece and getting my Greek citizenship and competing in a couple of competitions during my junior year of college, my third year.
mm,
And a year and a half later, I was finishing up my final year of school and also qualifying for the Olympics at the same time. And so I got to participate with the national team in Rio. And um, it was a fantastic experience and one that made me want to continue competing as a professional athlete for the next handful of years. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that for a period of time.
mm,
Um, and I think that kind of gives a good background of how I was involved in my sport, the level I competed at, and ultimately why I am representing the Greek team. And actually, I'm currently living in Greece,
yeah.
uh, completing a master's in sport and exercise psychology. So it's really been a full circle kind of thing for me and my entire family. This
Mm,
connection back with Greece.
yeah. Oh man, very, very interesting. Even right from picking up the sport to playing for another country. I mean, it's a fascinating story you have there. How did it st how did it
Thank you.
start? Like, wow, like because not shot put is not a it's not a sport that every kid goes to, like it mostly the the general ones in any country that people are playing. And even in the
Sure.
US, I don't know how the culture is around that kind of sport. But yeah, you ending up with that sport is it's already a niche, and even in that niche, it's pretty amazing what you did.
It is a niche, and even though track and field, the United States is extremely competitive in track and field and produces some of the best athletes in the world routinely across a wide variety of athletic disciplines within track and field, including my event, the shot put.
Mm.
There are not a ton of athletes that get funneled into that sport and stick with it beyond maybe their first exposure or first
Mm.
year giving it a try,
Yeah.
simply because track and field is very much overshadowed by uh, larger, more lucrative, and quite frankly, to a younger audience, more entertaining sports,
Mm.
um, like American football, soccer, or basketball,
Mm.
you name it. I mean, track and field is probably very far down the list in terms of viewership in the States.
Mm.
It is bigger in Europe, which is very cool to see. But yeah, growing up in the States, I mean, the way I found myself getting into it was very much by chance. Like I mentioned, my older brother,
Mm.
he had found his way into track, and I guess part of the reason that he did was because my father had been a track and football player, American football player, when he was in high school. And so I think
Oh,
that we'd grown up knowing that at least my dad had run track. He'd
mm.
run the hurdles and he'd run a couple of races. So um, he wasn't a great athlete in the sense of he didn't decide to move on and compete at the next level, try and go to college, for instance, in track and field.
Mm.
But he definitely had a love for it. He had a love for sports generally. And so I think growing up, my brother had kind of known, oh, this was something that my dad used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, my brother was fast and he didn't excel in other ball sports. And that led him to track and field, which is really a great sport for those athletes who do well in individual environments, who
Mm-hmm.
want to put in work and see the outcome of their work in a very sort of direct relationship. It
Mm-hmm.
attracts those kinds of personalities and mindsets,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it fit my brother very well. And like I said, I really was a very much a younger brother in the sense that whatever my brother would do, I would at least go and try, and I wanted to be a part of it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I ended up getting into it, and no other sport really stuck for me as much as I did. I played a little bit of American football. I played soccer. I played a ton of other sports growing up. I think once I had developed a little bit of skill, once that I
Mm-hmm.
had developed a little bit of an identity as somebody who was good at throwing the shot put in the discus,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of hard to shake that um, as I grew a bit older. And inevitably, I ended up stopping competing in any other sports or training any other sports when I was 15, which in hindsight was pretty young to specialize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I would recommend to athletes that I coach or youth athletes more generally to continue with other sport involvement if possible for a bit longer, at least
Mm-hmm.
in something like the throwing events in track and field. I think being involved and exposed to other sports can be positive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, by that age, I was convinced that this was something that I was probably the best at. This was something that I enjoyed the process of the most,
Yeah.
and a lot of that was yeah, a bit of family
And
connection,
you also
a
have
bit of
a
the
younger
individual
sister.
sport thing.
You also have a younger
What?
sister who does the shot put, right?
Yeah, so my younger sister,
Yeah. And
who very much.
you are the big brother now.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I'm just as much as I myself was the younger sibling following whatever my brother was doing, my
Yeah.
sister
Yeah.
would follow whatever we did.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, she would always want to do better than whatever we did. So my
Yeah.
sister is whatever I achieved. I said I won a state championship in high school. I
Mm.
did, I did fairly well as a collegiate athlete, and I've been to the Olympic Games. My sister was
Mm.
a multiple time state champion in high school, was an outstanding collegiate athlete, and has actually been to the Olympics twice. So she's outdone me at every single stage.
Oh.
She did throw the shot put
So,
when she was younger, but
yeah.
then now she's actually specialized in the hammer throw since leaving college. So she's been a professional hammer thrower since 2019 or 20. Yeah,
Oh, man, that's great.
yeah,
That's great. I
yeah,
think you had a really good foundation with your dad playing, then with your brother, and even for your sister, I feel. It's a good environment.
definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
okay, tell us more about the experience with Olympics because for every athlete, even if somebody who doesn't play a sport which is not in the Olympics would want to go to Olympics. And what was that journey like? You know, your first time getting into the stage and the competition.
Yeah, the Olympics was such an interesting and amazing experience for me. It was so much of the Olympic experience in hindsight happened or was everything that led up to the games just as much as it was actually going to Rio. And what I mean by that is
Mhm.
when I going into 2016 as an athletic season, so 2015, 2016 school year, because I was still in school at the time,
Mhm.
I wasn't planning or I wasn't actually aiming to go to the Rio Olympics. That wasn't something my coach and I had set aside as a goal. This wasn't something that I had really set my sights on. However, a few months into preparation, I had, um, it was actually near Christmas time of 2015.
Mhm.
and I received. I remember corresponding with this coach who was in Southern California at the time, and he sent me. I'm really not exactly sure what so inspired him, but he was. I don't know. He was a very good guy. He sent me a laminated photo of the famous Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio.
Okay.
And he had like edited on some text. It said, "Why not go for Rio in 2016?"
Mhm.
And it was this like vote of confidence from somebody that, again, this was somebody I knew and was friendly with, but it was that somebody was paying attention to my progress, and it was actually the first time that I thought to myself that was something that was possible to do that year, because I had maybe imagined in the future, yada yada, something, but all of a sudden it kind of clicked in my head that that was something that could happen. And really, the entire season, as I continue to progress and get better, get closer to the qualifying distance, qualifying for the competition by virtue of throwing over the automatic qualifying distance. Um, and all of the preparation, therefore, through the late part of the spring, the summer, leading up towards heading off to the games, that was such an amazing experience with that sense of expectation and excitement about having, about trying to achieve something that felt bigger than myself, felt like a worthy goal, and something that was so kind of, um, you know, satisfying to set as an expectation, and then achieving that qualification. All of that process, all of that growth as an athlete and as a person that occurred kind of throughout that year was, in truth, it was so much more than the actual games themselves could have been. And I say that as somebody who went to the games without any sort of expectation to win a medal, or I wanted to go and perform well. I wanted to acquit myself respectably. I wanted to um, I wanted to demonstrate that I could compete on the international stage with to my Greek coaches and teammates. But ultimately, what the Olympic experience really was, especially the actual games themselves, um, they were more of a. It felt like a big culmination. I mean, my family was able to go and be there and watch me compete, and it felt like this very, very big culmination of everything that I had been working toward as an athlete from a young age in this sport, everything my
Mhm.
family and all those who'd kind of been able to support me throughout my time growing as an athlete through youth sport, high school, and college. Um, it felt like a big culmination of all those things, and maybe that's really solidified in hindsight. But
Mhm.
I actually think in the moment too, I was aware of all this feeling. I wasn't going to the Olympics just laser focused on my performance.
Mhm.
To be completely honest, I wanted to do well. I wanted to throw great, but the Olympics were about 3 months after the collegiate national championships,
Mhm.
and so in all honesty, I was battling a bit of injury. I wasn't at my very, very best shape for the games. I
Mhm.
tried we tried to make it, give me a great shot to throw well. But I think in hindsight, or even in the moment, um, I was aware that it was much more than simply an opportunity to compete um, and to achieve a certain performance. It very much did feel like a moment of culmination and reflection. And even though those aren't necessarily the words that people usually associate with something like the Olympic Games,
Mhm.
it felt that way, for me at the time. And I think part of the other reason it felt that way is because I was representing Greece. I wasn't at the time extremely close with my national team coaches and teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it felt like a little bit of a surreal experience in that way too. Even though I very much felt as if I deserved to be there because of my performance level,
Mm-hmm.
it may not have been exactly how I had imagined it always going because I
Mm-hmm.
was, surrounded by people I wasn't as familiar with, and ultimately, I think what all that did was again make me a little bit more self-aware about the entire experience as well, which again, I wasn't expecting to win a medal or break a record, and yeah, I don't think it detracted from my ability to enjoy the experience overall, but I do think it was quite self-reflective, honestly, and in a way that was very, very cool, and has given me, the Olympics, having gone and having competed at that level, has given me a lot of personal satisfaction. You know,
Mm-hmm. Nice, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's
yeah,
always interesting because that's the biggest stage you can ever be on, and it's from some of the athletes that I know who has gone to Olympics, you have a very different perspective on it. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, before moving
thank you.
on,
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a rapid fire round which I'll be doing with a lot of my guests, and it's related to sports, so don't worry about it. But the only thing is,
Tell me.
you just have to answer as quickly as possible, and after that,
Okay,
we can move to the end of the podcast. Um,
sure.
okay, so first question. One word that describe elite athletes.
One word that describes elite athletes: driven.
Driven. Okay, nice. Best advice a coach ever gave you.
It's not Christmas every day.
Nice. Your go-to pump up song.
My go-to pump-up song, um, probably "Money Tree" by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, I love that song. Nice. A good choice. All right. Most underrated athlete quality.
Most underrated athlete quality: uh, patience and the ability to chill out.
Nice. One athlete everyone should study, not follow, just study.
Study. Novak Djokovic.
Mm. Cardio or weights?
You need both, but coming from where I've
No.
been,
Yeah,
weights.
weights. Nice. And if you weren't in sports, what would you be doing otherwise? What other identity do you think you would have?
I studied English as an undergraduate
Mm,
at UCLA, and
mm,
I've always loved writing. I imagined that I would be involved with journalism when I was in
mm.
college. That's what I thought I would get into post graduation. So maybe something to do with writing, being involved in journalism.
Oh, okay, nice. And
Yeah.
last question: how do you define a healthy life? Now, this is you can take like a minute or something, but uh,
Okay. How do I define a healthy life? Um, I think that if you, in short, there's a lot of there's balance. There's there is balance in the sense that you don't need to be you don't need to be. I think some people characterize it by um, mm, I think balance is the key word, and the other key word that comes to
mm,
mind is harmony, is a sense of things being complementary, and um, things being yeah, complementary in one's life. And I guess that gets a little bit vague, but I tend to get philosophical about some of these kinds of things. I think a healthy life is composed of some really key aspects:
Mm,
physical health, you know, your own relation to yourself mentally and emotionally,
mm,
and quality relationships around you. I think,
yeah.
but the one that I think people miss out on also is what you do. I don't think is irrelevant. I think that the reality that we live in is that most people will have to work for a living, do something with the majority of their time as an adult,
Mm,
and um, being aware that what you choose to do with your time in that sense is has repercussions, and if you're choosing to do something that feels rewarding and
mm,
feels challenging and is something that helps you to grow, then I think that you will find that that has fruit in the rest of your life. I don't think it's something that can just be survived
mm.
um, and come out the other end, healthy and satisfied. So
Yeah.
that's my perspective on things, and not particularly revolutionary, but that's where I stand.
No, but it's a heavy question. That's why I put it in the last. And yeah, you're right that it's not a simple answer. It's philosophical. It's also a lot of pieces in your life that has to come in a harmony. So yeah, I
Hmm.
completely understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
And
did I do well on the quick fire round? Was I fast enough?
oh, I'm not rating it.
Oh,
And
okay, good.
and maybe the audience can rate. Maybe the audience can rate
Okay,
it.
good.
I'm just asking you the
Good.
questions.
Okay, good.
Yeah, maybe we can tell the audience. Yeah, if they like what you answered, they can just put it in the comment section and tell us how you did.
Good.
And guys,
Cool.
be generous. Okay, be generous.
I actually I have a question for you. I don't know if you have a moment, but
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
a
yeah. We do have time.
yeah.
Yeah, we do have time. Yeah, we have
Well,
10 minutes.
I'm curious as to your motivation behind starting this podcast.
Mm.
I'm curious what motivated you to get it going.
Oh, I've been dangling with this idea for a long time.
Hmm.
Uh, I saw the rise of podcasting in general in the world, and I was like, why not add one more podcast to the list? And yeah, that's how I was like, okay, I'll come up with a name and what will be my guest about. But because I'm in this field of sports, I like athletes, I like all the sports. So I like, why not have a podcast where I can talk to athletes, get their stories out, get their philosophies out, get their perspective, get their
Sure.
experience, and have authentic, honest conversations with them. It's also a science podcast, but uh, I really want to start with getting out the stories first, and
I
then
like
when
that.
we have
Yeah.
more practitioners, more expert will be coming on the podcast as well, and they can tell their side of the
Sure.
science as well, but in a story form, because I think it's more easily digestible for the audience. Even if someone who's, for example, a working professional, and if they just come across the podcast, so I don't want to keep it very science based. It should be scientific, but I want to see a lot of stories. And the name of the podcast
Love
also
it.
is something uh, that I came up
Yeah,
with.
I was gonna
And
ask.
yeah, like that's my whole philosophy as well. It's in sports or in general life, I think people should thrive, not just grow, because growth can be seen as um, like somewhat misconstrued in a way. But when you're thriving, you can clearly see that there's a good balance between how you're growing, but also you're keeping yourself together.
Hmm.
It might happen that people might grow, but in sports, like if they see they're growing, but they might be suffering mentally or physically. So, in this podcast, through this podcast, what we want to aim is that we come up with a lot of ideas that we give to our viewers on how you can thrive in your life and not just
Love it.
grow. So it's
Yeah, I
growing,
love it.
growing, but on steroids. And
Nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I love the concept. I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, and yeah, this is my first attempt to it, and thank you for being a guest on the podcast. It was really nice. I think you're a
Yeah, man.
wonderful guest. I didn't have to do a lot of talking. I just leave it to you, and you made my job so easy.
Good. Okay. Well, I hope so. I hope so. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, yes, thank you. You can tell our viewers where they can find you and maybe also what you do right now. So maybe if they want to
Yeah.
reach you, if they want to ask you any questions, I'll attach all the details, your contact details in the description, but it might be a nice idea to
Sure.
tell it yourself.
Definitely, definitely. So like I had mentioned earlier, I'm in the process of completing a MSc in sport and exercise psychology. So in addition to my experience in elite sport, on the sport performance side, as an athlete, I also coached for a number of years in the American collegiate system in my sport of track and field, and I'm now pursuing this pathway in sports psychology. So I do beyond sport coaching, I also am beginning to provide some consultation in sports psychology and
Mm.
also in performance environments consultation generally. So anybody can find my information or find more about me on my LinkedIn if you search my name, Nicholas Scarvelis. And also on Instagram, I'm there as Nick Scarvelis underscore Oly, Oly. And if you want a little bit more information specifically about my psychological consultation services, go ahead and find me at scarvelisperformance.com.
Okay. Well, Nicholas, thank you so much. That was a wonderful time, and I wish you all the best with your future endeavors that you do. And I'll see you around.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Signal. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Thank you, all the viewers, for joining. Till next time.
Bye.